everybody, welcome to our bonus series, the Funtabulous Fright Fest. This week.
It's been a month.
It's been a month. It's been a painful fucking month of me watching these goddamn movies.
You have no appreciation for fine movies.
I don't.
Like wine.
Not when they make me feel like shit the entire time.
You gotta power through it.
Oh my god. I don't have bourbon this time either. Like, I just wish I had like a carafe of bourbon that I could pour down my throat while we talk about this.
I always wish I had a craft of bourbon.
Anyway, this week we're talking about Cargo, the Australian zombie flick starring Martin Freeman. So again, this is kind of the series where I tell Nick to go fuck himself and make him run the show. So Nick, you do the stuff and I'll be here to talk once in a while.
All right. So Cargo, which is on Netflix, if you haven't watched it or would like to watch it, is a movie that takes place on what we assume is a zombie outbreak starring one Martin Freeman, which I picked because you like Martin Freeman.
I do like
Every
Martin
time
Freeman.
I try to do something nice for you,
you fail miserably.
You throw it in my
You need
face.
to get better at being a good person. That's what needs to happen here.
Person. I just give you highly reviewed movies on Rotten Tomato.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, in this world, Martin Freeman and his wife have a small daughter, and the movie starts out with them floating down a river, basically trying to avoid some zombies and also.
Can I just say I've never thought about that? Like, yeah, get on a boat. Zombies can't do water. I mean, there's a whole thing in the Romero films, but the point is, like, zombies can't do water. You are theoretically safe on water. That's genius.
Until you run out of fucking supplies.
Well, there's that.
Which is what we start with, is that as they're floating on water, they're running low on food and supplies in the Australian outback. And so at this point, Martin Freeman sees a boat. He goes onto the boat. He finds some food and stuff, comes back. He's the hero. He tells his wife that it was safe. She goes onto the boat, and in pure zombie apocalypse.
Oh, man, you're going into serious detail here.
Well, and this is a good lead-in. So, and in pure zombie apocalypse fashion, she what?
Dies?
She gets bitten by a zombie.
Oh, yeah, that.
She doesn't die quite yet. And so now we have this adventure of how Martin Freeman is going to deal with having this little girl and his wife dying. So, Chris, right off the bat, how did you...
Wait, then so that's how you end your summary?
I'm ending there.
The summary ends at minute 5?
Yep.
God damn.
So... One of the things I want, because you've watched some zombie movies with me, and I know you have an appreciation for the original Dawn of the Dead. I think you liked the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I actually really like zombie movies.
Okay, so
I love the original Night of the Living Dead. I really enjoy the Romero films. I really enjoy Zack Snyder. Like, literally the only Zack Snyder film that I really like.
Is his first one?
Is Dawn of the Dead.
Which is one of the reasons why I kind of picked this one, is I thought at least genre-wise you would enjoy it. And so here's the thing I would love to ask, because it did something really interesting. In this world, it is clear that everyone knows this has happened, and the government tried to take steps.
Yeah.
So did you like that choice? I found one of the things that hit me right off the bat of this movie was that there are these little packs that basically, if you get bitten by a zombie...
Yeah, there was like zombie awareness packs, right? It's like
I loved that.
Yeah, because like only Australia or some like non-American country would actually take the time to go like, all right, let's try and save the people. Let's not just like break apart and fall to shit. Let's actually try and stick together and help this outbreak. I thought that was a really cool idea. I thought that was a fun little touch that, like, okay, there was a plan in place for what to do if you get bitten, and it's just like you still can't fucking survive it though.
No, but I think that's one of the beautiful things. I was like, finally, something that felt real to me. I was like, yeah, here's the government trying to take like steps to quell this epidemic.
I also thought it was a really nice way of explaining the steps of becoming a zombie, because most films it's just like, I don't know, eventually you turn into one.
Yeah.
But this one, they kind of took the time to like establish lore for the film and say like, okay, first this, then this, then this, and once you get to this point, you know you're fucked.
Which is really important, because it's those steps that I think make this film work, essentially.
Right.
So let's take it from this point on. They're floating down the river, and the mom gets bit. She's going back to get a razor blade, I think, for him to shave, right?
So the implication from my memory is that while Martin Freeman was on the boat, he noticed like a sound coming from a window or whatever and bailed.
It's a closet.
Whatever. The point is, while he was in there, he'd found a nice bottle of wine and he was giving it to his wife for her anniversary. And so because when they were arguing about him having gone on the boat, he said that it was safe. She goes back to, probably find a razor blade for reasons that, who cares?
Because she wants him to be clean shaven,
She wants to do something nice for him.
Yeah.
And subsequently, because it wasn't actually safe, she gets bit.
So I would love to know just right off the bat, since you're dealing with these two people and having a kid, how did that make you feel knowing a zombie world and knowing the implications of having a child in this environment, which is one of my big Walking Dead beefs?
So wait, what are you asking me exactly?
Asking, did the idea of having a child in this world just off the bat, how did that make you feel as a viewer since you hate all these movies so much? Did it already give you like the heebie-jeebies, edgy stuff?
All right. So first, I want to say I didn't actually hate this movie.
Oh, that's good.
So I hated watching it because it made me incredibly uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't because of the usual I'm scared. It wasn't because of the usual like something's gonna pop out and get me. It was because I fucking like it made me so uncomfortable with the entire concept. So what we haven't gotten to, and I is it okay if I just jump ahead to it?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, spoilers. We're now like
spoilers.
10 minutes into the movie or so, but spoilers.
Yeah.
So this entire film is essentially the idea of like, what do you do to take care of your child when you know you're going to die? Like when nothing is left, when there's nothing that you can do to help your child, how do you make sure that somebody else will?
And there's a very clear. So what happens? We should say, so Martin Freeman's wife is changing, right? And he's trying to pull this out to keep her alive for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And they get in a car accident. And he gets bit by her, if I remember right.
He decides not to leave her by the side of the road to die.
do.
Like she had wanted him to. And so in trying to save her life, he gets bit and she ends up biting him, giving him the infection. And so now there's no parents left and they have an infant daughter who he carries around in a backpack. And he has to figure out, what am I going to do? He tries to figure out how he can cure himself, which apparently the government has given up on. And he's left to figure out, like, okay, I have to find somebody who will take care of her and keep her alive. And the movie, basically the last hour of the movie is him trying to figure that out.
It's kind of Lord of the Rings with a baby and zombies.
That's one way of looking at it. I like to think of it as it's like, honestly, the movie gave me a very strong sense of looking for a friend for the end of the world.
Okay, which I have not seen.
It's a phenomenal film, but it's one of those films that's just full of misery.
It's like, yeah, I want to get to that because I agree. So one of the things that started me right off the bat with this like full of misery of this challenge is I really got the sense that he is not as like that the mother is the definite caregiver of the relationship. And so not only do you have this father trying to essentially find someone to care for his baby, there's this father trying to connect with his baby too.
Did you really get that?
Oh,
I did not.
Because the whole, if this for me, when I was watching this, I tracked from the beginning that she's the one really doing everything. Like she's the one mentioning they're running out of food. She's the one feeding the baby at the beginning of the film. The baby is attached to her smell. So you have this father who I think is striving with like this child that he's attached to, but the baby's not attached to him. And so there's that weird disconnect. This father strives in these last moments to find someone to care for his child, and the child is not getting that connection to the child that might not have been there in the same way, which is one of the reasons I wanted to watch it, because we talked about this with us on this podcast.
See, I didn't get that out of the film at all. I was very under the impression that this was like a nice, wonderful, loving family. And that like, because they're literally stuck on a houseboat together 24/7. Like it's not like this is a dad who's off at work all day, every day. It's like he is there. He's like planning. Like I get like there is a scene where they have some strife and she suggests, well, you're not thinking about the child. And he's like, well, no, that's literally all I'm thinking about.
Right, but that's what okay, so I think we're looking at two things, but the fact that he was not the main caregiver. I think it would have worked differently if this is this mom who you already see caring for this child being the one who's feeding it, like tracking across the fucking desert. I think it's a conscious choice to give it to the father, who is not in the opening shot, the establishing shots of this film, the one taking care of the baby. Not that he's not trying to take care of his family. That's not what I'm saying, because he is. That's why they're on the boat. That's why they're trying to find. But like, right. He is not the one being like, I will feed her, I will change her, I will blah, blah, blah. That's not him. That's the mom. And he loses that. So much so that he carries around her scent to keep the baby calm.
Okay, so I'm not sure I agree with that assessment, which may be problematic for the rest of the discussion. But for the sake of the discussion, let's go ahead and move forward and say I think that there is a definite Yeah, I don't know how the fuck this is going to work if we can't agree on what the hell that's happening.
Well, I think so. I think that's probably going to influence how we watch the film, right? Because I viewed it as it's a journey, right? It's a journey of, like you said, this father trying to find someone to care for his child.
Okay.
In a very limited time, but also this father finding even more connection with this child in this short amount of time, in this very finite amount of time that he has left. And that was really compelling to me. And it really broke my heart as you see him like love and care for his child and knowing that like he's going to have to give it up, which also means we have another character that enters into this movie.
We have several characters that enter into this movie. Which one are you thinking of?
The other kid, the Aborigine kid.
Okay, sure. So at this point, I feel like it might be an important point to bring up that as we said, this film. Let's just dive into the whole Aborigine aspect, 'cause I feel like that's going to be important for the rest of the conversation as well.
Yeah.
So a large portion of this film revolves around this this outbreak, or at least this story being set in Australia, and spliced with this is our little tales of an Aborigine girl who is essentially caring for her zombified father.
Who she's trying to save his soul.
Who's there is an Aboriginal lore given to the zombie plague, which is something, if I remember, along the lines of when you get bitten, your soul leaves you, and you can be saved if you just find your soul and bring it back in. Mm-hmm. And it's a very touching explanation. And there's all these Aboriginal like tricks for how to avoid the zombies. Like you rub something on your face and the zombies don't see you anymore because it's supposed to hide your scent, I believe is what they explain.
I think it's like a white mud or of the earth or and it works. It's important to note that it works.
Sure. So what I think is important about this is that this is the film does a really interesting thing where even though what they're like the actual narrative that they seem to be telling is about a father trying to find a home for his child after he's dead. The actual morality and the themes that this film is going for seem to be one of kind of colonization, where it's really talking about how the white man took over the land and the nation and everything, and left the indigenous people with nothing. And it's kind of implied that this is in some ways a curse that have been paid to them for doing that.
And also, I mean, I think with any zombie movie, there's the social, like when society falls apart, right? That you see the Aborigines in this story, like you said, retaking the land. They're the ones that are surviving. They're the ones that are cleansing the land of these zombies. And within this story, we have the mother of that girl looking for her.
Sure.
So you have, which I loved, is you have this father trying to save his child, right? So a father trying to find a family for his daughter, and in the meantime, a mother trying to find her daughter. So you have this, you have like parents doing like the same thing but in different ways, and I found that dual story that's happening really compelling as a parent, right? So like, what would you do if in this world you lost your child, right? You are trying to find your child in this plague-filled world, and then the other side, what do you do if you have to find someone to care for your child?
Is it ever explained how she loses her child?
She runs away because her father changes. They're going to kill the father, so she runs away with the father so that she can try to find his soul.
Oh, I see.
So she literally runs away, and that's why when the father is eventually killed, the zombie's killed.
There was a time when I wasn't sure if he was like outcast or something for having been too Western.
No. It's at some point she mentions that's why she ran away.
Okay.
It's really quick. But that's why she's running around and staying away from her mother too. So
I see.
She always kind of knows where her mother is and the tribe, and she's like on the outskirts of that.
I missed that.
So that brings us to the next point. Is eventually this girl's and her zombie father. The zombie father gets captured by, of course, your token zombie crazy person.
Yeah, your token zombie racist.
So did you like this token zombie racist? Because I thought it was a really good character. Or could you have done without that storyline, that kind of normal zombie trope that comes into play?
It felt like a plot device to bring these characters together.
Okay.
It was I kind of could have done without the the backstabbing nature of the world, because it really doesn't add anything in this situation. And what I really was really enjoying about the film was that this was a world where everybody had tried to work together, where there were obviously people who were distrusting, but that this wasn't a world where we were full of like the Mad Max style, like revenge crazies who were out for themselves, like the anarchists who were just taking what they will. This was a world that seemed as though people had worked together, that people were on the same team, and that shit just kept going wrong.
Yeah, and that was something I liked too. I feel like these worlds, though, you kind of need that crazy person because you know that's what would exist. I mean, there's always going to be like that guy.
It might, but I mean, look, there's no zombie plague. We don't need.
That's very, very true.
We don't need that. Like, we can like have a fictional world where like everything went wrong in spite of everybody working together. And I think in some ways, especially in a time like this, where like that could be a nice story to see. That being said, that's not the world that we're in this film.
No.
And subsequently, we're left with this crazy guy who apparently trapped all of his mining coworkers in the mine. And this is kind of an awkward thing to think about, but I believe it is even phrased as stole one of their wives.
Yes.
And
that is quite literally what he did.
Oh no! But I don't know. That makes me uncomfortable to suggest that he stole his wife, because that implies that she has no agency in this, which the film doesn't really give her a lot of agency. She doesn't get to choose a whole lot. She's like, he leaves every day to go. Like he traps indigenous people and draws zombies to them to kill, basically to keep his land free. I'm not entirely clear, but I think the implication is that he's clearing his land of zombies, right?
Yeah. He makes you feel like he's doing something good, right? That he's doing what basically the Aborigines are doing, but you realize that's not actually what he's doing.
But he's using live bait. He's basically using slaves to bring the zombies to them.
So, but his quote unquote wife, which is not his wife, is someone that he has kidnapped and is holding hostage. I mean, the reason she stays is because if she runs away and he finds her, he's gonna fucking kill her.
I mean, yes, but there's a good chance he's going to kill her anyway, right?
I mean,
don't you? I mean, if basically she's trading being raped on a daily basis for like potentially being. I mean, that's not entirely. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't assume I wasn't again turned into a zombie here.
Yeah, I mean, I felt for that character because that same idea of like, what do you do, right? Like, do you run? Do you stay? Like, you see this. She meets Martin Freeman's character, and I think he sees her as like a potential, like, you can take my baby.
Well, and that's very much the purpose for it in the film, is that it's supposed to be establishing like the initial, like, why it's going to be difficult to find somebody to take care of your child. And so like her role in this film is very much be like, okay, here's your hope. Now we're going to steal it away from you because it's a zombie apocalypse and everybody has to be crazy.
So every time, so he meets, I think it's 3 people to potentially take the baby. He has this woman and the crazy guy.
Okay, we'll give him 3.
3. He meets.
I'm not sure he meets the 3rd, but we'll get there.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about. We'll
talk. Yeah. Let's start with the first one.
So first of all, he meets this woman at. I think it's a school.
Oh, I didn't think she was ever available.
Oh yeah, because there's a home. So he goes to the school. He meets this woman, and she basically helps him. He gives the baby to her. She takes care of the baby for a little bit. And he goes and sleeps, right? And there's this moment where he's walking out and he's looking at her and she takes off her wig. She clearly has cancer.
Yeah.
I think he is totally being like, fuck yeah, this is the first person he meets. I'm giving this baby to her until he realizes she has cancer and she's dying too. Yeah. And that is the first, for me, it was the first gut punch of like, fuck, man.
I don't think I realized yet that she was like, he was trying to give the child to her.
Oh, I think at that, like, this is me watching it. I think every person he encounters, because he's on a time, right? So it's like, you're like, okay, she's it. I can do this. Like, he's making all these judgments. She seems nice. She took care of her. Like, I'll give this baby to her. And then she takes the wig off and he makes that realization that he can't leave the baby with her and has to keep going on this journey.
See, I guess I was under the impression that he was still trying to be saved at that point, that like he was hopeful that maybe there was a cure for it.
Yeah, that's funny because I always felt that once that movie starts, once he's bitten, like.
Did you know what the movie was about when you went into it?
What's that?
Did you know what the movie was about when you started watching it the first time?
Yes, because I watched the trailer.
I did not.
Okay.
Like I after we got to the point where he'd been bitten and was like going to a second, I was like, oh shit, I think I remember Nick telling me about this.
I did because I think I recommended it on the podcast.
Yeah, I forgot what the name of the movie was.
So my interpretation of the film with him is that he like, you know, when you're like, oh, there's a cure, but you know there's not really a fucking cure.
Sure.
That's what I got. So I think the moment he gets bitten is a quest to find someone to take his child.
See, I was hopeful that there was going to be a cure.
I knew with zombie movies there wasn't. I know that sounds silly, but like
so what I had actually thought was going to happen was that after he couldn't find the cure with the cancer lady, and after he had met the indigenous girl, the aboriginal, that's
Aborigines,
the Aborigines girl in the cage and saved her. I thought the rest of the film was going to be kind of a misdirection for like he has to give up the girl, but by embracing the Aboriginal culture, he will end up being saved. That's kind of the direction I thought they might be going here.
So you thought that there was a legitimate chance this dude might make it out?
Yeah, because I thought that would be a cool like change in theme. Because like, look, every zombie movie is like, look, everybody's going to die, everybody's going to get bitten, everybody's going to like yawn. It's like, cool, you know what? Like this is a Netflix film. Netflix is known for doing different things. Maybe this will be the one where they do something different.
Oh, as my wife would say, Chris, you sweet summer child.
Clearly.
So he meets this cancer lady and clearly is like, that's not going to work. And then he meets crazy dude in the cage.
So crazy dude, cage.
And then his kidnapped wife. And they plan an escape. And it almost works.
Except that it doesn't even remotely work. They are immediately found. She is shot to death. Trying to save them, and then they all have to run away and hide as the baby cries.
And they keep going. So I'm pushing through to get to the one that really hit me. Then he meets. So at the beginning of the film, he sees a family on the shore.
Yeah.
And the dad has a gun, and the dad shows him the gun. And he just keeps on going. He meets that family again, and all of a sudden, even I'm like, that's it. That's
really?
Oh yeah, I was totally just like, oh my god, he's gonna find them. The movie's gonna be like about them getting all of them to safety.
Oh.
And then you see them digging graves.
Oh, see, this was the one where I was like, well, this is where they're gonna get into a gunfight.
I actually didn't think there'd be a gunfight anywhere in this movie. That's where I thought Netflix was gonna be different. I did not plan on Martin Freeman being like, I'm gonna fucking shoot a motherfucker.
Well, because like we talked on the last episode, they used Chekhov's gun where they showed you the gun, and so you know it's gonna go off. Once they did that, I was like, well. Martin Freeman got a rifle. This guy has a pistol. There's going to be a gunfight.
But that's not what happens.
No, what does happen?
He is killing himself and his family.
Yeah, so let's talk about this for a second.
Oh, God, that wrecked me. Sorry.
Does he have to kill his family?
No, I think that's why Martin Freeman's like, fuck this.
Yeah, that was my impression as well, was that because I think he says, like, I promised I wouldn't leave them. I have 6 bullets. You can have the last 2. And I was like, because he's digging it, like, I don't know, he's digging a really fucking big grave for, just himself. If he's the only one bitten.
No.
So all I could think was like, why aren't these other 3 people leaving?
Yeah. And that's what,
like, you are distracting them. Kids, fucking run.
I think that is such within this genre and this film, and when you tackle this, is just showing you. So in this film, there's always like, because I find these metal packs, I always like, there's this little bit of hope. It's in that moment that you realize like just how bad this situation really is. Mm-hmm. That like, this is where people go. I mean, they tackle this in like 28 weeks later, and a lot of time feels like, I truly believe like there's probably some truth to that in like a total apocalyptic situation. Like that this father, first of all, probably has lost his mind. But the thought of making that choice of like, what's your choice? So you can kill yourself, but you're taking them with you because you're crazy, or you don't think that they can protect themselves. And so I kind of had the same thing. I'm like, is this going to happen? Are they going to run away? Is Martin Freeman going to talk him out of it? And sure enough, he walks away and you hear him shoot his kids.
And there weren't any I don't know. So
did that not affect you? That was one of the things that really got me. There are 2 huge moments in the film that deeply affected me, and that was one of them.
So just to be clear, the entire fucking movie got me.
Yeah.
Like I was miserable watching this because the entire time, like he's carrying this little girl and it looks vaguely like Thea did when she was a kid. And I was like, okay, here's this little tubby round faced girl. And I'm just like, God damn it. That's my daughter right there.
Beautifully done in that way. And sometimes I watch movies and stuff because I want to see people experience it. I don't
want to feel bad. There's enough in the world that makes me feel bad. I don't want to feel bad. I want to feel happy. I want to feel like there's hope.
So let's get to the last point then, and we can move into your hope. So we see...
Hold on a second.
What's up?
I don't think we're recording anymore.
What?
Oh my God. I don't know how... We're not recording.
What?
I don't know what happened.
You have failed the city.
All right, everybody. Well, we've had a little bit of a technical error here, and so we continued a conversation that was not being recorded, and so I'd like to apologize for that. We'll do our best to go back and catch up on whatever it was that we were talking about, but it's going to be different.
So we were talking about how this father shoots his family and himself, and it really affected me because So listen, while that... I'm like, why would you do that? There's that part of me that as you deal with Martin Freeman's quest to like save his fucking kids, that's the other side of it, right? Like,
and I mean, that's the thing though,
the
right?
Mirror.
Like, I don't know. Like, that's fucking, like, that's just upsetting to me. Like, it just feels bad. Like, so I don't know. I don't feel like there is anything in the world that would ever lead me to kill my kids when I don't have to.
Yeah.
Especially like my own death. Like my own death. Like I would go drown myself in the river before I went and like, guess I gotta kill my kids.
But that's the thing that I think is so heartbreaking.
It's like he's even like killing his kids because they're going to be alone in the world and going to die anyways. Like they have their mother. Their mother is right here.
But you don't know it. Again, I agree with you, but that's what's so sad. It's the other side of like someone feeling so hopeless that you think that's the merciful thing to do. And it may not be what I would do, obviously. I don't think anyway. I've never been in that situation.
Sure.
But that broke my heart because it's like here's Martin Freeman doing everything in his fucking power to find someone to care for his child, to save his child. And here's this other father who is literally just given up. And given up so much so that he's taking his family fucking with him because he thinks that's the better choice. It is such a moment where I think in the writing and in this film where I'm like, does Martin Freeman ever have that moment where he's like, maybe that's the choice?
He clearly seems not to, right? Like he seems very, very willing to kill himself and leave the child like alone and miserable. But like, and even then, whenever he's about to kill himself and leave the child alone, I always get the impression it's like, well, I have two really bad options. It's either I can eat the kid or I can hope that somebody will eventually come along. And it's like, I'm going to choose the better of the two shitty options.
Which is why that dad gives him the gun, right? Like, here's your third option. And that to me was a really striking moment that struck me. I know. But it really played on like these extremes, right? So this movie... It's full of these like lift you up and let you fail. But let's talk about the ending. So I fucking love the end of this movie. Did you like it or not?
So yeah, I was sobbing through the end of the movie.
So was I.
I hated you.
Just trying to make you feel things.
I was just like, all right, I gotta watch this movie before I go to work today. Let's do this. And I was just like, all right. I'm now like weeping and red faced and like streaming tears down my eyes. And I had to go talk to a bunch of kids about like Chekhov or some shit.
That's even better. That's perfect.
So I thought, look, it's an incredibly effective ending. I thought it was very powerful. So just to like go ahead and address it, like he turns, he full on turns. He's taking the Aboriginal girl,
but
carrying her home as the girl carries him home, and he comes to a moment where he sees like some entrails in the grass, and he like can't stop himself from eating them, and he realizes like it's over, he's done. And so he ties the entrails to the end of a stick and has the girl climb on his back.
So good.
And lead him while he carries his daughter so that they can still get the little girl and his daughter to the Aboriginal family they can protect him.
Which is the little girl's family. So you have this great moment where, so one of the things they do to draw the zombies and they build like a big fire. It's all the smoke. So you see them walking through the smoke. and with her like leading him by a fucking stick, which I was like, that's incredibly smart. And I also laughed at the same time because it was so like cartoonish almost.
Yeah, I couldn't help seeing this as like the end of a Looney Tunes episode, and I was just like, no.
But it was
just fucking no.
It's so good because it's like the zombie can't get the daughter and it can't get the girl, and it's just focusing on the food. So they lead him in, and the mother sees her daughter who has run, and there's that moment, right? There's this moment of like a mother finding her lost daughter, and that got me. I was like, oh my God, I'm losing my shit. And then she goes to kill Martin Freeman, and the boy stops her, and he sprays the mom's cologne, and you see him pause and find peace before ultimately taking it. I really like zombie movies because I think they can be somewhat complex. That was in terms of a scary movie, zombie movie, that one of my all-time favorite moments now watching a film, because it is it's so well shot and it's so beautiful. It plays on this idea of zombies have still that little bit left. And this father, even in his changing, even as a monster now, finds a moment of peace. And I thought it was so well done. And I wasn't ready for that. Like that, I did not see that happening.
So the thing I found really interesting about this that I really liked, and I find it interesting that like that's where you went toward, like you went to the family dynamic, but for me, like the end of this film, and when I say the end, I would say like like ever since he finds the Aboriginal girl in the cage to the end, it is all one very, very large like metaphor for like post-colonial relations. Cause like you're like, oh, it's like he has this little memory of whatever, and that's how it gets better. I'm like, okay, I just see this as like this girl who is part of the Aboriginal tribe, which has lost her land, has lost the lives to these miners who are just like corrupting their people and just torturing them for no money and killing them. This is like them finding like a moment of saying like, okay, they're not all bad, or something to that effect, where they just say like, okay, we forgive you for a moment. Like you've paid your price. We forgive you. We will take care of you, and we will show your children the way.
Wow, you are in a very large white guilt stage on this podcast.
That is clearly the symbolic metaphor that this film is going for. Otherwise, why?
Well, I mean, so part of it in Australia, if we're getting into that, is because there is a lot of that. It's very similar to like what we did to the Native Americans. There's a lot of similarities. But so the end of the film, I think that is part of it. I think it's about these people taking this child and then bringing that child into the fold, and it is forgiveness, and it is this child finding a family.
It's the land going back to the indigenous people.
Right. And I think you're totally right. But I think that last moment is also about Martin Freeman having a moment of peace, when this whole movie is about him struggling to find someone to care for his child, and he does.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get to see it. I think that's the like...
Right.
But that moment... And then, of course, they bury him in a way that his soul can be taken. Like, that's the other thing. He gets buried in the trees like an Aborigine.
Oh, is that how that's supposed to work?
Yes. So that was the important thing. They had to be buried up. So
what is it about the people buried with their head in the ground? Is that so their souls don't come back?
That's what the zombies do. I think the zombies do that with the light to stay out of the heat and stuff. That's each zombie puts their head in the ground. That is them doing that. That's part of the virus.
I didn't catch it. That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why, like, if their zombies' heads are down, they could, like, navigate through them. It's a really, like, they never really explain it, but it's part of the virus.
Okay.
But no, for you to be like your soul or whatever to be found, the girl explains it. They have to be buried in the tree up above. And so that's why at the end you see that they buried him up above and then take his daughter. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, when they take that little girl and the other little girl finds her mom, it was like all of a sudden I just felt myself go, oh, and just kind of collapse and be like, thank fucking Christ.
Yeah, I did that too, but I was just like, oh, thank God it's over. I can turn on something happy. I had to be at work in like 30 minutes. Like, nah, fuck it. I'm watching Gilmore Girls for 10 minutes. I am watching something stupid and happy because I feel miserable.
See, but it's so interesting that that's what happened to you at the end, because the end made me happy in that way. Because again, I knew he wasn't getting better. So it was all about him finding the right family. And when they give the little girl the mark, I was like, she has a place now. She is. It made me remind me of this really cool line in a book I read. So it's a zombie book, but there's this line about it's a good book. I can't remember.
It's a zombie book. I don't know what it's called. It's a zombie
City
book.
of the Dead, I believe. It's the third book. They talk about
it's called Zombie.
The motherless child and the childless mother, and it made me think of that line where now this fatherless child now has a mother, and the mother got her child back too, and it's just reuniting it. I thought it just ended in a really beautiful way that emotionally hit me as a parent, because this whole movie I was just like, yeah, like what lengths would you go to save your son or your daughter? And I think this movie captures that beautifully, which is why I said Lord of the Rings, but for zombies.
Okay.
Because Lord of the Rings, like, it's a big journey trying to, like, it's you have to do it, right? There's nothing turning back. And this movie just felt like Martin Freeman's character was going to make this happen, whatever he had to do. And that need and that want and that drive was so clear. And also, can I say, I thought he fucking crushed that role.
Oh, sure. I mean, look, Martin Freeman is a
great.
tremendous actor. I would not expect him to do anything but be terrific. I thought that, I don't know how they got an actual like infant to work so well.
A lot of time twins.
That makes sense.
I'm almost positive it's twin. They almost have to be.
That makes sense. Well, yeah, you have to because of work conditions. Yep.
But I also like this movie. The reason I picked this movie, besides the themes, is it's a showcase for Martin Freeman in a lot of ways, which I really like. Because so often he plays like a secondary character to the main character.
That's kind of changed lately, though, hasn't it?
Not. I mean, yes and no. He's still a lot of times like the secondary character in big major movies.
Yeah.
Like Black Panther, he's a secondary character.
Sure.
Captain America's a secondary character. Sherlock Holmes is a secondary character.
I thought Sherlock Holmes, they were more of like a I don't know, a dual cast, I guess.
It's still pretty. I mean, it's in as much as Sherlock Holmes is still the main character.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot for him to do.
I guess there was The Hobbit. There was
the
Hitchhiker's
Hobbit
Guide to the Galaxy, which is old as crap now. But God dang it, I love that movie.
The Hobbit, that's a good one. That's a good example.
Okay, I guess maybe there aren't as many leading roles as I thought maybe there were.
I think he's a character. I think at his root, he's like a shorter dude, and he's like,
yes, he is very much a character.
He's
actor.
like good looking, but not great looking.
Fargo.
Oh, this TV show Fargo.
Yeah.
He's great in that.
Yeah.
Which came after Sherlock Holmes. I think Sherlock Holmes kind of launched him to start doing these.
He made him a household name.
Yeah, but like I like this movie because it's a lot of just him, right? And him.
Or maybe The Hobbit. Either way.
Dealing with this. Anyway, I thought it was a good showcase for him, and I really enjoyed watching his work in this film. So I guess anyway, you kind of said, so you didn't hate this film.
I don't.
Has this been
so
your
I don't
favorite
want
of
to
the
say
three?
I enjoyed the film because that would imply that like I had a good time watching it. I thought it was a great film.
All right.
I thought it was very well written. I thought it was very well performed. I thought it was. I thought that I liked the themes. I liked the genre better than I like some of the other ones we've watched. Of the three films we've watched thus far, I think I would say, yeah, this is probably my favorite. But I would say I was also the most miserable while I was watching this because I could very easily imagine myself in the world and in the moment at all times, and there was no letting up.
Yeah, you know what? I will agree with you that. So this movie is a movie that after I watched it and I watched it for this, I don't know if I'll watch it again. Like it's not.
I will never watch this movie again.
And I think I'm kind of in that same. Not because I wouldn't. It's a movie I would recommend for people that like the genre and like want to go watch this movie. It's a really well done film. It's on that list of movies that I don't know if I can do it again.
Sure.
I'm glad that I did. It's a movie I'm very glad I've watched as a fan of the genre and good movies, but it's a rough one. It's a rough one if you're a parent, especially of a small child.
Right.
So okay, let's kind of recap here because we move into our final week after this one. So,
okay.
Quiet Place, just a dud for you because you have no taste.
I will say it was well acted.
Okay. We had Babadook, which you kind of liked.
I thought there was I liked there were things about it that were good.
Okay.
I thought that it was a good film that I just hated all parts of.
Another Australian film. And we had Cargo. So now we have a choice.
Which I actually thoroughly enjoyed while being miserable.
Which makes sense, which I think that's a good idea for. So, good thing for horror movie. So, if you're listening, we have one more film. We don't know what it is yet. It's between The Conjuring, The Mist, 1922.
Okay.
Frat House Massacre.
Come on, Frat House!
if I have to give my, so let me give you why I picked. I think it's a good preview for these movies and why I picked them as we go through these list of polls. So number one, Conjuring, scariest movie I've seen in a long time. The Mist deals with a father and his son and apocalyptic event, and it's Stephen King. 1922 also deals with a father and his son, and also is a movie that creeped me out so much that I had to go downstairs and make sure my doors were locked after I watched it. And Frat House Massacre because I'm in it, and I told Chris I would pick a bloody grindhouse film to just see if it happened.
All right, look, people, we have a poll up on Facebook for these films for which one will be last. It's probably going to end on Monday.
Yeah.
So, which is when you're listening to this, to be clear. So I need you to do me a favor.
Vote for The Conjuring.
Vote for Frat House Massacre. These other films are going to terrify me. They're going to make me miserable. Frat House Massacre is a grindhouse film with like a C-level budget. So, for the love of God,
hey, let's not hate on my first feature film too much.
Please give me this film where I can completely check out, laugh at Nick in his underwear, and just feel like completely neglectful of this thing. I need this. It's been a month of horror movies. You owe me this, people.
Chris, you have no idea how brutal this movie is.
Right. That's the secret trick is you're gonna die in like the first 10 minutes. I'm like, son of a bitch. Now
dude,
I have to watch the rest of this thing.
It's fucking brutal. Like brutal. And you can
so
see,
here's the trick though.
Too.
If you choose Frat House Massacre, we have gotten approval to post the video on the website for the week that we are going to air this. So you'll be able to find this one on twodumbdads.com and you'll be able to watch it. We might even set up a special viewing where we can all get together in a Twitter page or like a YouTube. Oh, we don't know the specifics, but we'll try and figure out a way that we can have a live stream where we can all get together and watch the movie together as one. So again, pick Frat House Massacre.
The Conjuring.
All right. So, I think that's going to do it for Cargo. And until next time, be well.